Before we dive into this cosmic tale, please subscribe so you never miss the next emotional journey across worlds. The ghost ship Whisper of Dawn hung in the silent void between stars, a derelict behemoth from a forgotten war, its hollow lattice of frozen metal and crystallized energy. Commander Jax Corvin floated through a breach in its cavernous hangar, the beams from his headlamp cutting swathes through the absolute darkness. He was a relic hunter, a prospector of dead civilizations, and this vessel, designated Xylos, was the motherlode. His sensors had picked up a low, thrumming power signature, a heartbeat from a corpse, and avarice had overruled protocol, leading him to breach the airlock alone. The air was cold and still, smelling of ozone and ancient dust. Then, a voice, not in his ears, but a resonance that formed words directly in his mind, smooth as polished stone and just as cold. "You are alone." Jack spun, his plasma cutter humming to life, its blue light illuminating the cavernous space. "Show yourself." From behind a spire of twisted alloy, a figure emerged. She was tall and slender, her form seemingly woven from living shadow and captured starlight. Her skin was a map of a dark nebula, dotted with faint, pulsing stars, and her eyes were pools of liquid silver, reflecting his own startled face back at him. She was utterly, terrifyingly alien. The others came in packs. Her mental voice continued, a hint of clinical curiosity in its tone. They scurried through my halls like insects, driven by fear or greed. You are different. You are quiet." Jax held his ground, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. "What are you?" "I am Nissa." The thought came, calm and immense. The final warden of the Xylos, the last of its crew. She glided closer, her feet not quite touching the grid floor. "The others, your predecessors, they fled? They could not bear the silence, or the truth they found here." Jax's grip on the cutter tightened. "What truth?" "That they were not the first to seek our technology. That the ones who came before them, the ones who scoured our homeworld to dust, wore faces much like your own." A cold knot tightened in Jax's stomach. He knew the histories, the unspoken chapters of human expansion. Nissa's starry skin brightened slightly, a sign of emotion he was beginning to decipher. "I was placed here," she explained, "a sentinel in a tomb, my purpose to await the next species to find this grave, to judge if they were worthy of the legacy they sought to plunder." "And what have you judged?" Jax asked, his voice barely a whisper. "That your kind is a paradox," she replied, now only an arm's length away. "Capable of immense destruction, yet also of a profound, solitary curiosity." Her silver eyes seemed to look through his helmet into the man beneath. "You have not tried to loot, nor have you fired your weapon. Why?" Jack slowly powered down the plasma cutter, the blue light dying with a soft sigh. "Because this isn't a prize," he said. "It's a tomb, and the dead deserve respect." For a long moment, the only sound was the hum of his suit's life support. Then Nissa asked the question that seemed to cost her a great effort, her mental voice softer, more vulnerable than before. "Do I frighten you, human?" Jax considered the being before him, a creature of shadow and starlight, a warden of a dead world. He unsealed his helmet, the hiss of equalizing pressure loud in the silence. The air was thin but breathable, carrying the scent of cold metal and something else, something like petrichor after a storm. "No," he said, meeting her liquid silver gaze with his own. "You don't frighten me. You feel alone." Nissa's form seemed to solidify, the stars on her skin burning a little brighter. "You see the warden, and not the monster." It was not a question. She led him deeper into the heart of the ship, through archives of light where histories of 1 billion lives were stored in shimmering data crystals, past gardens of crystalline flora that had frozen mid-bloom. The scale of the loss was staggering. "Your people, they were artists," Jax murmured, running a gloved hand over a mural etched into a bulkhead, depicting constellations unknown to human charts. "We were dreamers," Nissa corrected, her presence a warm pressure in his mind. "We sought to map the music of the cosmos, but our instruments could also be weapons, and in our naivety, we built the very things that invited our end." She paused before a vast, circular door sealed with intricate, interlocking patterns of light. "And you, Jax Corvin, you who hunt the graves of others, what do you seek?" Jax thought of the petty factions and corporations he worked for, their desire for salvage purely for power or profit. "I thought I was seeking a payday," he admitted, his voice thick with a shame he hadn't expected to feel. "But now I think I was just seeking something real. Something that wasn't just another transaction." Curiosity, Nissa, the thought tinged with something akin to wonder. Not for power, but for understanding. It is a rare quality. They reached the core, a chamber dominated by a massive, dormant sphere of opalescent energy. "This is the Ethel core," Nissa said, "the sum of all we were. It has been sleeping, waiting for a custodian whose heart is not ruled by avarice or fear." She turned to him, her form glowing with a soft, internal light. "I have watched you. You treated this place not as a treasure trove, but as a memorial. You have shown reverence." She moved closer, until he could feel the faint static charge of her being. "So I must ask you again, and I require the truth that comes not from your mind, but from your soul. Do I frighten you?" Jax reached out, a deliberate, slow movement, and let his bare fingertips brush against the star-strewn skin of her arm. It was like touching cool silk and humming energy, a sensation that was utterly alien and deeply comforting. A shock of connection, of shared loneliness, passed between them. "You are the most beautiful thing I have ever seen," he breathed, the words heartfelt and true. "My people, we are the monsters. We consume and move on. But you stayed. You guarded the memory of your people. That's not monstrous. That's heroic." Nissa's entire form blazed with a sudden, brilliant light, her silver eyes shimmering. For an eternity, she had been alone, a ghost in a machine, expecting only fear or violence. She had never expected to be seen, to be understood. "Your words," her mental voice was a tremulous whisper, "they have rewoven the silence." She placed her hand over his, and their connection solidified, a bridge of light and warmth between human and warden. "The core can be awakened," she said, "but it requires a bond, a partnership between a living Valtari and a being of moral clarity." She looked at him, all the loneliness of the ages in her eyes, now mixed with a fragile, blazing hope. "Will you awaken it with me?" Jax, his throat tight with an emotion he could no longer name, simply nodded. "Together." Nissa closed her eyes, and as their joined hands rested upon the sphere, the whisper of dawn awoke. The dark chamber flooded with a symphony of light and color, the dormant data streams igniting like a galaxy being born, the legacy of a dead race now entrusted to the most unlikely of pairs, a relic hunter and the ghost who taught him how to live again.